What's up, YouTube fam? Welcome back to the channel. In this episode, or better yet, this video, we're gonna do a free option selling course, right? Because it's Sunday. I have some plays lined up for the week, so I'm just gonna break down the strategy. What I think you should look for when it comes to selling options, how to make the most money, how to, get great returns. I'll show you guys. So far, we started this challenge 1 week into the month. So 17 days ago, and we're up 11%. We haven't really had anything crazy, any sweats. We've actually made a lot more from selling options, but if you watched the last video, I blew some of it trying to be a degenerate and buying options, but we'll make that money back, so we're not worried. But I wanted to just teach you guys real quick how to sell options effectively, how to make the most money, and what I look for. We got a big week coming up, so I'll talk about the stocks I'm going to be opening some cash secured puts on, and we'll take it from there. So the first thing you want to do as an option seller is you want to look for stocks that you know are going to have juicy premiums, right? So here we have Earnings Hub open, and this is something I've been looking at every single week. Another good thing you can do is just following, stock market pages, people that are going to tell you, which stocks have big news, which stocks have volatility. Now, if you have a big account, right, you might not want to trade stocks that have a lot of volatility, because at that point you're going to want to be less risk adverse, right? You're going to want to be more safe with your plays. But if you're growing a small account like I am, you're going to want to trade stocks that might have earnings or high volatility, right? So we have the earnings calendar up. Now you see I have Abercrombie and Fitch as, the play that I'm already looking at. Now look at this chart, right? That's the first thing, is you want to pick a stock that is trending up, because if you pick a stock that's trending down, what's going to happen is if you sell puts, you're going to get stuck buying. And if you sell covered calls, you're going to get stuck holding, where the loss is going to offset the premium. Now, a stock like Abercrombie and Fitch, obviously, it's had its fair share of pullbacks, right? But over the long run, it is just exploding. And over the last couple of years, it is, no one's even talking about this stock, but it's up 20x over the last couple of years, right? So now this week we have earnings, right? And the reason why we like earnings is because even though it's volatile, what it does is it makes the premiums a lot juicier, right? So if you're trying to make money and have bigger premiums, and you look at this, right, $143, right? So like in this case right now, it's $152 a share. I'm probably going to be looking to sell something with a 32 delta. So that's the thing we look at, right? We look at delta. What delta means is it's the percentage you're stuck holding it, right? It's the percentage it ends in the money. So when it has a 32 delta, that means there's a 32% chance that by Friday, it's going to be below 142 or 143. Now look how nice these premiums are, right? So let's just say at $143, you would collect 600 in 4 days, right? Now let's pull up a stock that's similar in price, right? So let's look at Kava, right? Here's basically the same price. It's at 144 compared to Abercrombie and Fitch being at 152. And now look how much less you are collecting, right? You're literally collecting $75, $110. So if we go to ANF, right, what we notice is since there's such big news coming out, the premiums are completely inflated, which is why this is the type of stock we want to sell cash secured puts on. Now, there is going to be risk involved because there is earnings, right? But since the stock is trending up, even if earnings does send it down and we're temporarily down money, right? Because earnings can do a lot of things. Now, earnings can send it, 25, 30% down. So we can get stuck buying at 140 and it can go all the way down to 110. So, temporarily, our account would be going from 22,000 to, 18, 19,000. Now, if you can't stomach that, right, you shouldn't even be trading at all, right? If you can't stomach temporary pullbacks in your portfolio, then option selling is not for you. Trading is not for you. Buy index funds, right? But that's why we're picking a stock that's trending up, right? We're picking a stock where the earnings have been good for the last couple of years. And you can do more research into the stock. Picking the stock is the single most important aspect of option selling, because if you pick the wrong stock, you're going to lose a lot of money. But if you pick the right stock, it won't matter if you temporarily lose, because long term you will always win. So when we go to the earnings calendar, right, we see other stocks that we want to play. So the other one I chose was Macy's, right? So I'm going to be playing both of these stocks this week. Now, I don't overthink it, right? I don't get too deep into my thought process. The reason why I'm choosing Macy's is because if I do Abercrombie and Fitch, right, and I sell cash secured puts on a, let's just say a 140, right, that's 14,000 that is tied up in the play. So now when we look at Macy's, okay, and we go to sell puts, and let's say I pick the $15 strike, it's going to give me, at this point you see $7,300, right? So what that does is it means I'm going to be spending 14,000 on Abercrombie and Fitch, and now I have 7,000 that I can use on Macy's. The problem with these other stocks that have earnings, right? If we go to like Best Buy is going to be too expensive, right? Because it's $89 a share compared to Macy's, which is 16. So if I wanted to do one cash secured put on Best Buy, I probably couldn't even afford it because I'm already spending 14 or 15,000 on the Abercrombie and Fitch play. So I only have 22,000 to use, right? So that's why I don't overthink it. Everything I do is very simple. I pick stocks that I know I would want to trade, right? Like if we go to CrowdStrike, right? CrowdStrike has obviously earnings as well, and it has phenomenal premiums right now. But look at the price per share. It's at $372. So this account couldn't even afford it. If I wanted to put more money in, then yeah, I can trade it. But I'm not going to overthink it. I started this challenge with 20,000 and I'm trying to grow it to 20,000. As much as I do want to put more in, believe me, right now I'm just trying to prove to myself I can grow a small account. Now, the next thing you guys might want to discuss is why are we selling cash secured puts instead of covered calls? It's very simple, right? Right now, if you look at Abercrombie and Fitch, it's at 152. And as you can tell, it's been trending up. But notice how in this range, right, it doesn't look necessarily like a terrible buy, but it doesn't look like a great buy, right? You see how it comes to the low, goes up, comes to the low, goes up. So, very simple is if we wanted to go straight into cash secured puts, covered calls, the thing about covered calls is you have to buy the stock right away, right? So I'm trying to pull the path, right? So it's like if we saw it do something like this, right? If we saw the stock at this point, then yeah, maybe I would say, let's go straight into the covered calls because it looks like it has a higher probability of going up than down. But where it's at now with a gap like this, I'd rather do cash secured puts. So let's say we do a strike of 134, 135. Now I do plan on getting a little riskier and doing a higher strike to collect more premium. But let's say we go, 135, 360. Right, so we would collect $360, and in the meantime, so let's go right here. So right here, right, would be essentially if by Friday Abercrombie and Fitch is below 135, we have to buy for 135. That's a much better buy than 152, right? That's if you are talking about 100 shares, you're talking $2,000 that you are just saving yourself from being down, right? So if we wanted to get right into covered calls, and yes, if it went up, then we would get to enjoy, potential upside of the stock moving along with the premiums. But we want to protect ourselves, right? Which is why we would do it. Now, again, I'm not afraid to be a little riskier, which is why I'm looking at like something like this. So if we look at the premiums, 142, right now it's at 152, right? Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, I like to use the ATR as a tool to measure where my strike should be. So on average, Abercrombie and Fitch moves 16 points per week. So that's 16 up, 16 down. It just means the range is 16. Now, it is an earnings week, so this isn't necessarily going to be accurate, right? It could move a lot more than that. But if we go half of the ATR, right, from 152 to, 154, you're giving yourself the chance to collect 660 while not having to lose $800 if it does go that low. Now, of course, again, if it goes anything lower and expires anything lower, you will have to, buy at 144. And let's just say the stock's at 137, you'll be down 700 immediately. But now you have the shares, and you have the shares of a stock that's clearly trending up, right? And that's the most important side of it, is it's a company that clearly is doing well, clearly is trending up, and ultimately you're just getting stuck into buying, and you're not afraid to hold it because of that. Now, if we were to pick a stock like, let's see a stock that's been trending down, right? Here, BABA. BABA is not a type of stock that I would want to be selling options on at this moment. Why? Because look how much it's been going down, right? If you were selling covered calls from 260 all the way to 80, you would have to collect a lot of premium to make your money back. Like you would be down, 70, 80%. Now, you know, if you are making roughly 10% a month collecting premium, listen, the crazy part is you still probably wouldn't be down that much because it's been 3 or 4 years. And that's why selling options is so powerful, right? Is because even a stock that would have been down 70%, right? Like let's say you started selling options here, you'd be down 68% of your money. Now that's over the span of 3 years. So assuming you were collecting premium every single month, that's what's insane about it is, assuming you were making 10% a month and that's 3 years is 40 months, 50 months. It's like, you'd probably still be up, truthfully, even despite the fact that you're selling on a stock that's going down. Now, with that being said, I personally would not want to do that. I would be looking for a way to get out, and that's the moral is you cannot marry a single stock. If there's one way you could actually lose selling options, it's by marrying a stock that's crashing. So eventually, listen, as much as we like to sell cash secured puts and then do the wheel, right? So we sell cash secured puts until we have to buy, and then we sell covered calls until we have to sell. If a stock is doing this, right, and there's bad news around China stocks right now, with Donald Trump in office, we know he's going to put tariffs on Chinese companies. We know that China companies at the moment aren't what you should be investing in. Now, I'm sure that'll turn around eventually. I'm sure BABA will come back up eventually. But the point is, right, it's very black and white in the sense of like, if the stock is going down and the fundamentals aren't good, you shouldn't be selling options on it. You want to be selling options on something like Square. Like look at Square, right? It obviously has come down a lot as well, but now it's pretty clear that it's going to be going up. Now, that's the other thing to consider is if a stock looks extremely bullish, which in this case it does, then you might be better off just holding, right? Because, if you sell covered calls and, your strike is 100 and it goes to 115, of course you're going to be kicking yourself. Now you can't get emotional about that, right? If you're in the selling option game, you're here to collect premium, take your play, and move on to the next stock. So it has to go both ways. If the stock is trending up, you can't get upset because you could have made more money. And if the stock is trending down, you can't be stuck holding because you're just going to keep losing money. United Airlines, another great stock, right? Any other day when it comes to selling options, I think the number one thing to consider is don't overthink it, right? Do stocks that are companies you can trust, the earnings reports are clean, right? The financials are good, the market cap is high. The market cap should be in the billions, right? You should not be trying to sell options on penny stocks. Last week I took a play on SMCI. It's not even the type of thing I would recommend, right? Because SMCI was risking getting delisted from the NASDAQ. So my strike price was at $13, which I still have drawn out. And at the time the stock was at like 25. So it was 40% away. And I was able to make a lot of money. I was able to make, $1,000 on this account, a $20,000 account. But it could have easily fallen 40% based on that type of news, right? Two other stocks that I sold options on throughout this challenge, Shopify and Affirm. Again, just great earnings reports. Shopify, great earnings reports. These are companies that you could bet your life are going to be around for the long term, right? And when it comes to investing in the markets, you don't have as much control as you would like, right? If you're running your own business, you have all the control in the world, or at least you think you do, right? You can't control if your employee stops showing up, if your business partner does something to screw you over, right? And when it comes to the stock market, it's very similar, right? Like you don't have as much control because you're investing in these companies, but you have the control to make the decision, right? So make the decision to do it on the right companies and pick companies that are going to be around forever. Companies that have just proven that they're here to stay, right? Google, Facebook, Coinbase at this point, if you're going to do crypto, and again, for me, it's a smaller account. So I've looked at more risky stocks like Riot, Mara, CleanSpark. And trust me, I'm going to be taking those plays, right? Do I advise you to? Listen, I can't tell you what to do and what not to do. I just want you to weigh out the options, no pun intended, and consider the fact that you want to be doing it. I'm sorry, clicking the wrong button. You want to be doing it on stocks that are going to be around forever. Because the premium is not going to matter if the stock's going to zero and your investment is worth zero. Now, again, the good part about it is when you look at something like BABA, if you were selling options for 3 years, you'd basically be at break even, even though the stock is down 70% or probably be up. But again, would I recommend it? Absolutely not. Try to pick a stock that's trending up or not even moving at all. The problem is if it's not moving at all, is the volatility makes the premiums go up. And that's why it's a very tough game. Like a lot of times when you first learn about selling options, the thesis behind it sounds too good to be true, right? You're collecting premium, there's no risk, there's no way you could lose. Listen, first of all, there is a way you could lose, right? Is if you're doing it on a stock that just keeps on crashing. Second of all, you're going to be faced with a lot of times where you would have been better off holding the stock as opposed to selling options. And that's what you have to get over because, you know, if you want to buy and hold stocks, go ahead, buy and hold them. But if you want to collect premium and sell options, then understand that in the long term, this is the type of play that's going to protect you the most and make you the most money. So there's a lot of things to consider. You know, Robinhood, another stock I love. Listen, if you want to go ahead and buy it and hold it all the way to 90, do it, right? Hold it. But at the same time, you know, if you want to sell options on it, then there's a lot of money to be made selling options on it, right? So when it comes to the markets, it's a very mental game, and I'm sure you all know this by now, right? Like, listen, if we want to sell cash secured puts on Robinhood at 35, with my account size, how much could we make? You know, $288, right? Let's see. About $288. Now, what that does is that gives us the ability to then buy it at 35, assuming it crashes. Now, if there's a stock you really want to hold, right, and you're not worried about it going down, you can freaking pick the strike that's right next to it, right? Pick the 36.5, and then no matter how much it goes down, you're still buying, because that's still technically better than buying it right now. Obviously, it's only at 36.70, so it wouldn't be that much better. But that's the essence of the strategy, right? Is always looking to buy on a cash secured put. You know, Nvidia, another play that we did last week, right? Our strike price was 132, and as you can see, it never even came close to it, right? And even with earnings, and obviously as you can see now, it does look bearish right now. You know, if you want to take the play on Nvidia right now, you know, it's like you want to catch, what they say is catch a falling knife. Now, this is a stock that I don't mind catching a falling knife on, because even if it goes down for months and years, you're still going to make good money off it. Now, what's interesting, right, is look how cheap these Nvidia options are. Last week, it had earnings, and we collected, I forgot what it was, either $400 or $500. Now, there's literally no way you're collecting $400, right? Like, the highest you can collect is $220 off one contract. Last week, we collected double that. So that's why we look for earnings. You know, we ultimately make sure it's stocks we trust, right? Like, next week, there's earnings. You know, these are two stocks I've been looking at, but, like, at the same time, I'd rather do one of these or this one, because these are stocks that are just, they've been around longer, like Super Microcomputers and CleanSpark. You know, they're such volatile stocks that to do them during earnings, it's crazy. It literally is crazy. You're going to get paid premium, but you have to be prepared for some crazy movements going on. You know, let's look at Asana. I actually haven't looked at that stock since we started this challenge. $15 a share. Let's see what the puts are like. You know, in this case, the stock is too cheap, right? There's just no money to be made in options, and that's fine, right? And that's why this game, it's not as black and white as it seems. It requires diligence. It requires looking into stocks, finding which one makes the most sense, finding which one you can afford, and then just pulling the trigger, not being afraid, because risk is what allows you to get paid. So you have to embrace risk. So, you know, I don't want to make this such a crazy tutorial for beginners, right? Obviously, when it comes to actually pulling the trigger, it really is extremely simple. I'm going to drop the video tomorrow. I'm going to actually do the trades live, where I'm going to take Abercrombie and Fitch and Macy. So I'm telling you guys that right now. If you've watched this far, then, you know, you get the ability to see my plays before I take them tomorrow. But, you know, in terms of actually taking the play, it's really that simple, right? You just go in and you click and boom, you're done. So I hope you guys learned from this video, understanding my strategy better, understanding what I look for, understanding why I do what I do. You know, looking for high volatile moments in stocks that you know you can trust. You know, when you get to that account size where you're in the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, then you can start trading stocks that are less volatile and still making good money. But when you're at an account size we're at right now, you know, you need to be doing things that, you know, have more risk in order to capitalize on higher premiums and grow your account faster. Now, we still haven't had to exercise any premiums on this challenge, but I'm excited to have to exercise because I want to own 100 shares of some of these stocks, right? If I own 100 shares of Abercrombie and Fitch, you know, I know it's going to go up long term. If I own 100 shares of Macy's, or in that case 500 or 600 shares, whatever, you know, these are stocks that you don't mind holding and then riding the covered call until you're either break even or profitable. And it shouldn't be such a long, you know, process. Like I said, a stock like Baba, there's no reason to ride that for 3 years through a bear market, through a Chinese bear market. So I hope you guys learned from this video. Just a pretty relatively simple option selling free course. It's not going to be, the full beginner type of stuff, but it's basically everything you should need to know and should get you guys to go from knowing nothing, never taking an options play, to being able to start selling cash secured puts and then ultimately selling covered calls. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you this week for all the updates, and hopefully we'll grow this account. I'm anticipating to grow this account from at least 22.2 to 23,000 roughly. Hopefully it happens. If it doesn't, I know it will sooner than later. I'll see you guys on the next video.